that when we're going to make contact with a technique partway through the movement, it could be anything from 50% of the way through to 90% of the way through, depending on the nature of the strike, that when we hit something, now whether that's with a forearm or whether it's with a knuckle or whether it's with an open hand, when we hit something, it needs to have a feeling of penetrating. So quite often we'll see techniques that come in and do this, and we know that that's just touched, and of course for sport that's fine, because all we want to do is touch and score our point, but we need to have the intention of landing and going into the target and penetrating. So how do you practice that? Well, you use your kick shields and you lay into them and you look for that penetration of the target. But the other part of that, and our principle for this week, comes down to a little thing we call heavy hand. When we hit, for most of our big solid hits, and we'll talk about the other kind another time, for most of our big solid hits, we're going to want a technique to go through the target and to land in a heavy, wet kind of feeling when it hits. So we just demonstrate that up here on the shoulder, and we do that because there's less vital equipment there. You know, if we bring it in on the gut or on the chest, there's so many vital organs that are just hidden behind here that we don't want to run the risk of damaging. If we touch and it's all on the surface, it doesn't do us much good. Right? We can bruise, but it's not really going to do anything. So when we touch, we want to take the technique and bring it in. Right? And the technique lands, it looks pretty much the same, the intention's all different. It takes the body through into where it's going, instead of it being just about this. You know, the body takes the technique into the target, and we just bring it in there. And you can see that hitting something, whether it be a punch or an open hand, hitting something where it's going to go in is definitely better. Now, if we use a substance called ether foam for checking the progress here, and with the kick shields we can lay into it hard and heavy every day of the week. Partner feels it, but they receive it through that big cushion, so they go on, hit it harder, hit it harder. With the ether foam here, we actually go the other way. We start very, very gently and work up, because there's no correlation between how hard I think I'm hitting and how much he feels. So we use a number system. 1 is didn't really feel much, 10 is it was too much, I think I might have broken something. Right? And we start at the lightest way and build up. Even if you know your partner very, very well, you always start, because it's a different day, it's a different time, you're different, your energy level's different, they feel different on every different day, so we always start light to find the measure that we're working at today. So if we take that simple swinging punch and we make it as lazy as possible so that we find out what's working today, throw the hip, let the hand land, and he gives me a number 1. And that's light, so we know we can work up from there, little by little. Don't head straight for what you think will be 10. Start light. 2, 4, 6. Just relaxing into it.
8.
Well, we're at 8, so we don't really want to go any more than that for the sake of a demonstration. The idea is, of course, that this is costing me very little in energy, but the throughput into the target is of huge value to us. And you can land this with all sorts. So I've been demonstrating there with the fist, I won't do it. But if we was to bring the elbow in, if you're going to use your knees, you're going to land back hands, ridge hands, knife hand strikes. All of these can be practiced to come in and through the target. Say even something sloppy like your wrists, you know, this koken, or it starts to look like one of these techniques from the kata. And we're going to land that. Knowing what we know, I don't want to be here to land it. Instead, I have to set that as the part-way movement, part-way through the movement, with the end position being back here. Once again, we need to start light. 1, 3, 4, 6, just a little bit. You start to understand, even without the number being used, what kind of penetration we're getting on there. And people will say, well, that's all very nice because it's done in a very controlled manner. You know, you've got the time to work it up, but this is why things are dangerous, because without that, if there's a scrap going on, this comes in here and we just allow this to come through with everything we've got. You build in those movement systems into what you're doing, then you've got something that means that you need your kata. Because I can't go landing that full speed and power on a training partner. Not every day of the week. You know, you need a new training partner every other day. So taking great care with a training partner. With a training partner, I've got to check it, stop it. When we're doing the kata, it can be allowed to go all the way through with as much energy as you can muster. On the kick shields, we can go through as much energy as you muster. And you can do that on the move, you can do it static. On the ether phone, we've got to be careful because it's allowing the impact to go through, it's just diffusing it a little bit. And that way we can check, could I really hit something as hard as I will need to have an effect.